Hello, my name is Amelia Hackinson, and I will be finishing the first chapter of the second book of Sartor Resartus by Thomas Carlyle. The title of the chapter is Genesis, and like I said, it's the first chapter in the second book. All right, I'm going to start on this, the paragraph on the second page, due to stops off and on. But right, here you go. Our philosopher declares here, as indeed we should think he well might, that these facts, first communicated by the good Gretchen Funeral in his 12th year, produce on the boyish heart and fancy a quite indelible impression. Who this reverend personage, he says, that glided into the orchard cottage when the sun was in Libra, and then, as on a spirit's wings, gilded out again, might be? An inexpressible desire full of love and sadness has often since struggled within me to shape an answer. Even in my distresses and my loneliness has fantasy turned, full of longing, full, to that unknown Father who perhaps far from me, perhaps near, either way invisible, might have taken me into his paternal bosom, there to lie screened from many a woe. Thou beloved Father, dost thou still, shut out from me only by thin penetrable curtain of earthly space, when to and fro among the crowd of the living, or art thou hidden by those far thicker curtains of everlasting night, or rather of the everlasting day, through which my mortal eye and outstretched arms need not strive to reach? Alas, I know not, and in vain vex myself to know. More than once, heart deluded, have I taken for thee, and to the other noble-looking stranger, and approached him wistfully with infinite regard, but he too had to repel me, and he was not thou. Oh, yet, O man born of woman, cries out the autobiographer, with one of his sudden whirls, wherein my case in particular? Hadst thou any more than I, the Father whom thou knowest, the Andreas and Gretchen, or the Adam and Eve who led thee into life, and 4 times suckled and pap-fed thee, there whom thou namest father and mother? These were, like mine, but thy nursing father and thy nursing mother. Thy true beginning and Father is in heaven, whom with the bodily eye shalt never behold, but only with the spiritual. The little green veil, adds he, among much similar moralizing and embroiled discoursing, I inferred a piece of now quite faded Persian silk, like thousands of others. On the name I have inferred a piece many times meditated and conjectured, but neither in this lay there any clue. That it was my unknown father's name, I must hesitate to believe. To no purpose have I searched through all this herald's book, and without the German Empire, and through all manner of subscriber lists, Pranumerantum, militia rolls, and other name catalogues, extraordinary names as we have in Germany. The name Teufelsdruck, except as appended to my own person, nowhere occurs. Again, may the unchristian rather than the Christian Diogenes mean? Again, what may the unchristian rather than the Christian Diogenes mean? Did that reverend basket-bearer intend by such designation to shadow forth my future destiny, or his own present malign humor? Perhaps the latter, perhaps both. Thou ill-starred parent, who like an ostrich hadst to leave thy ill-starred offspring to be hatched into self-support by the mere sky influences of chance, can thy pilgrimage have been a smooth one? I'm going to stop here to explain what Teufelsdruck means, and Teufelsdruck is the whatever. Teufelsdruck means devil shit. So this book is about a guy whose name is Devil Shit, or it's edited by a guy named Devil Shit. I'm not sure. It's been a long time since I've read this, and this is one of those books within a book within a book. This is my favorite. Anyways, I'm going to go back. All right. Perhaps the latter, perhaps both. Thou ill-starred parent, who like ostrich hadst to leave thy ill-starred offspring to be hatched into self-support by the mere sky influences of chance, can thy pilgrimage have been a smooth one? Beset by misfortune, thou doubtless hast been, or indeed by the worst figure of misfortune, by misconduct. Often I have fancied how, in thy hard life battle, thou wert shot at, and slung at, wounded, hand-fettered, hamstrung, browbeaten, and bedeviled by the time-spirit, zeitgeist, in thyself and others, till the good soul first given thee was seared into grim rage, and thou hadst nothing for it but to leave in me an indignant appeal to the future, and a living, speaking protest against the devil, as the same spirit, not only of time, but of time itself, is well named. Which appeal and protest, which I may now modestly add, and was not perhaps quite lost in air. For indeed, as Walter Shandy often insisted, there is much, nay, almost all, in names. The name is the earliest garment you wrap round the earth visiting me, to which thenceforth it cleaves more tenaciously, for there are names that have lasted nigh 30 centuries, than the very skin. And now from without, what mystic influences does it not send inwards, even to the center, especially in those plastic first times, when the whole soul is yet infantine soft, and the invisible seed grain will grow to be an all overshadowing tree. Names? Could I unfold the influence of names, which are most important of all clothing, if I were second grader Trismegistus? Not only all common speech, but science, poetry itself, no other, if thou consider it, than a right naming. Adam's first task was giving names to natural appearances. What is ours still but a continuation of the same? Be the appearances exotic, vegetable, organic, mechanic, stars, or starry movements, as in science, or, as in poetry, passions, virtues, calamity, God attributes, gods. In very plain sense, the proverb says, call one a thief, and he will steal. And in almost similar sense, may we not perhaps say, call one Diogenes Teufelsdrock, and he will open the philosophy of clothes? Meanwhile, in the incipient Diogenes, like the others, all ignorant of his why, his how, or whereabout, was opening his eyes to the kind of light, sprawling out his 10 fingers and toes, listening, tasting, feeling, in a word, by all his 5 senses, still more by his 6th sense of hunger, and a whole infinitude of inward spiritual half-awakened senses, endeavoring daily to acquire for himself some knowledge of this strange universe where he had arrived, be his task therein what it might be. Infinite was his progress. Thus, in some 15 months, he could perform the miracle of speech. To breed a fresh soul is not like brooding a fresh celestial egg, wherein as yet all is formless, powerless, yet by degree organic elements and fibers shoot through the watery albumen, and out of vague sensation grows. Thought grows, fantasy and force, and we have philosophies, dynasties, nay, poetries and religions. Young Diogenes, or rather young Nestor, for by some diminutive had they in their fondness named him, travelled forward to those high consummation by quite yet easy stage. The funerals, to avoid vain talk, and moreover keep the roll of Friedrich safe, gave out that he was a grandnephew, the orphan of some sister's daughter, suddenly deceased in Andrea's distant Prussian birthland, of whom, as of her indignant sorrowing widower, little enough to have known the Entepfel, heedless of all of which, the nursling took to his spoon-meat and throve. Have heard him noted as still infant, that kept his mind to himself above all the seldom, or never cried. He already felt the time was precious, that he had other work cut out for him than whimpering. Such, after utmost painful search and collation among these miscellaneous paper masses, is the notice that we can gather of Herr Teufelsdrock genealogy. More imperfect, more enigmatic, it can seem to the few readers than to us. The professor, in whom truly we more and more discern a certain satirical turn, a deep undercurrent of roguish whim, for the present strands pledged to honor, so we will not doubt him. But is it not conceivable that by the good Gretchen funeral, or by some other perhaps interested party, he has himself been deceived? Should these sheets, translated or not, ever reach the Etapful circulating library, some cultivated native of the district might feel called to afford explanation. Nay, since books, like invisible scouts, permeate the whole habitual globe, and Timbuktu itself is not safe from British literature, and may not the same copy find out even the mysterious basket-bearing stranger, who in a state of extreme senility perhaps still exists, and gently force him to disclose himself, to claim openly a son in whom any father may feel pride. Thank you.